students, today I'm going to be taking you through a little demonstration as we observe the movement of a solution through a semi-permeable membrane. So we're going to be observing the process of diffusion here. So we have a couple of different materials that we're going to start with. We have an iodine solution which we have diluted into the beaker with a bit of water, and then we have our solute solution which is a 15% glucose and 1% starch solution as well. Our example of a semi-permeable membrane is something that we call dialysis tubing, and it is this clear transparent plastic, essentially plastic bag that we're going to be using as our semi-permeable membrane. So our solution is going to diffuse through this. So we need to cut this to length to fit in within our beaker, and we need to leave enough room so that the solution that does diffuse in can fill up the contents of the bag, and enough room for us to tie off the end. So you can see wetting the dialysis tubing allows us to separate it out, and now we have a little bag that we can put our glucose and starch solution into. So we tie up one portion of the end like that. So using a funnel, we can now pour in our glucose and starch solution into our dialysis tubing. That should be enough. So before we put our glucose dialysis tube into our iodine solution, we need to test for the presence of glucose, and we do that by using these glucose strips. So all we need to do simply is place the strip within our solution, and it will change colour based on the presence of glucose. So after our strip has been soaked in our glucose starch solution, we can compare it to our glucose chart here. We need to tie off the end. We want to leave a little bit of room there for the contents of the bag to fill up, and we just tie a knot like that. So now we have our glucose and starch solution encased in our dialysis tubing. Just as we tested for the presence of glucose within our glucose starch solution, we need to test our iodine mixture as well. So we use our glucose strips here, so we can see that the little box is blue, and we are not expecting there to be any glucose in this solution. So here we have both of our strips. The strip on the left is taken from our iodine solution, and the strip here on the right is taken from our glucose starch, so we can compare the levels of glucose initially. We have our 3 glucose strips, our initial test of the outside of our beaker, which was just our iodine water solution. We have the inside of our dialysis tubing initially, and finally in the middle we have the iodine solution beaker after it's had a dialysis tubing of glucose and starch sitting in it for about 45 minutes. And we can compare those levels to our glucose. So the presence of glucose outside the beaker in the iodine and water solution indicates to us that the glucose has moved from inside the dialysis tubing through the semi-permeable membrane into the beaker. The colour change within the dialysis tubing is also evidence to us that diffusion has occurred, as iodine has diffused through into the dialysis tubing, with amylose present in starch changing to this dark blue colour in the presence of iodine.